Hello friends, welcome to my channel, The Right Direction. Now I am going to teach about the process of communication. Though you know that communication is the key word. Communication is the center around which all of us are revolved around. All of us are rotating. So why communication? What are the process? What is process? Suppose you want to make rice, make a curry, or make anything, or try to make a building. That are the process. What are the process? So, and in our day-to-day life, as it is communication, what are the process are essential to make a communication? So, communication is a process whereby information is encoded. That means it must be inclusive in the sense your communication, your voice, your message should be sent, should be reached to the last man standing on the row. Last man standing on the row, what you are teaching, what you are telling, what you are speaking, what you are singing, that must be reached to the person, to the last. So it is the information is encoded, except that certain time what happened, as you know that language is arbitrary, but it must be understood by the other person. It must be encoded. Suppose you speak in Hindi, but that man no English. How it will be possible? In that case, the language must be encoded, and to him it was decoded to his native language. So channel and sent by sender. It has been sent by who? The sender. As you know that sender is the primary source, primary factor of the process of communication. The process of communication, that means who is a sender? First, what is sender? That means anybody or everybody who sends the message to the receiver is known as sender. Then who is a sender? Suppose I am a teacher, you are my student. So if I speak something to you, I am a sender, you are the receiver. In the case of a doctor and patient, doctor is the sender, patient is the receiver. Lawyer and client, the lawyer is the sender and client is the receiver. And a buyer and a seller, the seller is the sender and the buyer is the receiver. So these are the essential things. The receiver then decodes the message and gives the sender to a feedback. Finally, that means as you know that all is well that ends well. That means communication requires what? Communication always requires the feedback, which is essential. Without feedback, without result, no communication, nothing else. So all forms of communication requires sender, channel. These are the elements. Suppose you want to make rice. What are the elements to make the rice? One is water is required, container is required, fuel is required, then rice is required. Everything like this is sender, channel, message, receiver and the feedback that effectively winds up the process. These are the things. If we mention, if you arrange it in a proper and perfect way, then it will be possible through this. Then communication requires both the sender and receiver to have an area of communication commonality. That means there is the interaction. That means we know the sender and receiver are just like the two sides of the same coin. They are complementary but not supplementary. They are two sides of a same coin on one side or each other. So that's why there is a cooperation between the sender and receiver. And the following diagram will give a clear-cut analysis about the process of communication, how the communication continues, how the communication goes on. First is the sender, as I am telling. Who is the sender? Sender is the primary sources of the process of communication. The communication actually starts with the sender, and the sender sends the message to whom? To the receiver. Except that another element is the channel. What is the channel? Channel is the media or the medium through which the message passes or message reached near the receiver. Suppose we are using a mobile phone, that is also a channel between the sender and the receiver. The instrument, the media, or as vehicle is meant for transportation, canal is meant for irrigation, so channel is meant for communication. Then everything depends on this is message. Your message, when you send a message to anybody, suppose you send a message through a cell phone, then when the message is sent, it is written sent, and when the message is received, it is written as received. But except that one thing is sure, one thing is clear, one is semantic gap. What is semantic gap? That means semantic refers to the story of a meaning. Certain times our language must not be understood by others. But remember, what is communication? In communication, we learned that the language of communication must be the language of common man, which will be easy and simple on the part of an ordinary receiver to receive, to understand about your language, what you are telling. But except that when you are using the jargons or the difficult word, the bombastic word, so definitely it will not reach the receiver, so it is not a healthy communication. So semantic refers to the story of meaning, except that what is that? Suppose you tell teaching, if you instead of teaching, if you tell pedagogy, no one will understand what that really the meaning of teaching is. So definitely, as you know that language of communication must be the language of a common man. So it must be easy and simple. Except that when the receiver is received, then you know your message must be received in proper procedure. Then after that response, what is response? As you know that every action has the same and opposite reaction, and the response is nothing but the feedback. That feedback is what? It will reach near the sender. That means it will create a cyclic process. That means starts with the sender, goes through the receiver, then also ends with the sender. So that is the cyclic process. So these are the essential. Except that you know what is that semantic gap. Certain times we will use the definite language. So for instance, a doctor use the language with the patient, or if he uses the subordinates, they can understand. But if he use the language which is not essential in the life, in the day-to-day life, with his family, so definitely it will be difficult to understand by anybody else. So in this way, I have given a clear-cut analysis about the process of communication which will be effective for you. So thank you all of you. Please share and subscribe and click the bell icon to my channel. Thank you.